Hello, this is the TradeSite U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview and Domestic Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Monday, the 4th of April, ending Friday, the 8th of April, 2016. Welcome to Q2 2016. Hard to believe already. Here's the ES front month futures contract daily chart. This is the proper way to look at the broad market. And we have recovered back to near highs. I'm going to put this on the weekly for a minute just because I want to point out, look at this. I mean, this is near all-time highs in the market. Remember how last year we were so flat for 8 months until we finally plunged in August and then recovered, and then plunged again in January and recovered. I will point out the red line here. This is how specific this is. This is why it's so important to understand this tool. The red line that you see, look how we bounced off it. We came near it back in October 2014, almost to it in August 2015, and touched it exactly twice in January and February 2016. That is the still active static trend line on the weekly chart from the last 9-bar move up. We are almost completed a 9-bar move up again, the first one since 2000 and early 2014. So that green 9-bar count that you see way back then, the low of that is the red line. Look how specifically that's been in place. That's the stop. Boy, that's really interesting. So, now we're 7 bars up on the weekly. So 2 more weeks up, we'll get a new 9-bar count. That'll erase that red line. Although the new one will go going forward at the exact same point, because look where the 1 is here. The 1 is basically right where the low of the 1 is the same as that bar. That is amazing. So we're going to create a second static trend line with basically the same number. But it has been support. That it's what it's supposed to be. So the question is, are we going to be able to get to a breakout point? You can see the green static trend line above near 2100. That's the upside target, because we did have a downward 9-bar count on the weekly. So maybe 2 more weeks, get the 9-bar startup signal to the upside. That's usually the top. If that's right against that green line, decent chance we roll over at that point, if we can even get there. That may not happen. But over on the daily chart, obviously we are now, that says 10, but if I go to projection mode, 11. So we're 2 days away from a sell signal. Now keep in mind, on the daily chart of the ES, we have not had a true sell signal since last year, back in February, and that ended up being the top for the year. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be interesting. At any rate, let's go through some of the major signals indices and such for the week. See where we left them on Friday. Crude oil down again, closed at 36.79 for the week, down about $1.50. A whole week of slippage there. Gold was down $11.20. Notice the 13 sell signal that we talked about back at the beginning of March. Basically, the high there and that pink risk line from it's still in place. It has also settled on the red static trend line. So far that's support. That's doing exactly what that signal is supposed to do. S&P gained 13 on Friday after gapping down a little bit. NDX gained 48 after gapping down a little bit. Still not to its static trend line. SOX looks like it. I mean, that's a nice cut for a breakout on the SOX, up 4 points on Friday. Can it really get that going? If the market tops, probably. Biotechs have been weak, but finally turning up a little bit off the lows, up 78 on Friday. We got the VIX down 1.85 to a new closing low for 2016. And I should point out there was a 13 buy signal on the VIX. Remember, the last 13 buy signal on the VIX was back at the beginning of December. That was also accurate. VIX turned up from there, which created more volatility in the market, which then led to the downward move in January. So again, a 13 buy signal on the VIX can also be very meaningful. Trend closed at 0.8. That makes the 10-day moving average 1.18. We always look at that. For a low reading there usually leads to a rollover in the market. We don't have it yet. By the way, let's go back to that real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's some middling numbers that are going to drop off the 10-day moving average, so that probably won't move much over the next few days. NASDAQ volume 1.65 billion on Friday. Now here's the thing. That's not great volume, but I did point out, remember, we talked about this all last week, starting last weekend. The end of quarter tends to be kind of slow. They kind of get stocks where they want them. So, Monday was not very eventful. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday stayed that way. Volume was a little bit off on Wednesday and Thursday from where it was on Tuesday. So Tuesday was the better trading day of the week in terms of volume. But I said coming into the week, Friday might be the day they'd have a little bit better volume. 1.65 billion is not exciting, but it was the best trading volume of the week because the quarter ended and we got some data in the morning, and the big players are free now to start doing stuff for the next quarter now that the statements are printed. Here's NASDAQ advanced decline ratio plus 422 for the session. Negative 128 on the broad market. So even though the markets were up, breadth was not great on the broad market. Google gained 6. That's the highest close in a while on Google. Apple up exactly $1, highest close there as well. trying to breach that static trend line. Amazon up $4.86. Netflix up $3.47. A lot of positive things happening in the bigger name stocks. All right, let's take a look at the week, what we had happen in the week. I'm going to go to 10-minute candles. Oofta. So we opened flat on Monday, or a little gap up, filled it quickly, closed flat for the day. Tuesday, gap down, filled it over lunch and kept going. This was when Yellen gave her speech. Remember, I'm talking about everything moving forward. Wednesday, we gapped up and we were flat. Thursday was fairly flat, a little drift off in the afternoon. And that's the close of the quarter right there. Friday, we gapped down, so that filled the gap from Tuesday going into Wednesday, moved up, filled the gap, and then closed at highs. Obviously, the biggest range of the week. We had a great Amgen winner. We expected the bigger range of the week. We got it. The move was obvious. He went down and then turned up and filled the gap and beyond. That's all predictable stuff. We had some real nice winners on Friday. All right, so completion of another successful week. Here's a look at the NASDAQ side. NASDAQ futures for the week, pretty similar. Very flat on Monday, though. But then look at Tuesday and Wednesday, all the same. All right, let's take a look at the economic calendar and see what it is that we have to look forward to this week. In terms of U.S. data, it's not a lot, so we don't have to get bogged down in too much stuff. Here it is. Factory orders at 10 a.m., 30 minutes in on Monday. Trade balance, that's a big one on Tuesday, an hour before the bell, and then ISM services 30 minutes in, so that can get things moving. Wednesday, MBA mortgage index, no big deal. Crude oil inventories, an hour in, no big deal. Fed minutes from the last meeting at 2 p.m., no big deal. Thursday, initial and continuing jobless claims, natty gas inventories, consumer credit. Friday, wholesale inventories. That's it. Not a lot of data for the week. The big one's the trade balance number. What do we have to focus on? You got tax day coming up. This is the other thing. The timing of this is interesting because I said 2 weeks from now we could, in theory, get a sell signal on the weekly chart of the broad market. 2 weeks from now is tax day. It is very common for the market to go one direction into tax day and then reverse afterwards. So if we've been heading up, tax day could be the top. We get a 13 sell signal on top of it. I mean, that's just goofy timing for that all come together, but it may do that. So just be aware of that. Other than that, April has no holidays. We have options. We have options expiration in 2 weeks, but it's a single expiration. It's very early in the month. We have 2 weeks between here and there. We have 2 weeks after that. Should be just a very clean, straightforward. It's usually a good trading month. Hopefully the volume comes back in a bit. We'll be looking at that. That's the key for what type of trade size you should be taking. And that is it. We'll be in the lab as usual to help you out. Charts brought to you by eSignal 12. If you do find these videos useful, please like them on YouTube. It does help us out. We hope to see you in the lab and help you make some money in this first full week of the second quarter of 2016.